Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to talk about the facts of math, the basic, fundamental, underlying arithmetic facts that should be on the tip of your tongue at any given moment as you're going through with learning math. Now, when you started to learn to read, you couldn't just start off with words. The first thing you had to do was you had to learn the alphabet. And as you were learning the alphabet, you learned the letters and what the sounds were. And then you started linking the sounds together. And through that, you started forming words. Now, just knowing the words wasn't enough. When you could actually really read, you put those words together in such a way that you got concepts. And there were major ideas that were connected. Big, huge things that were more than just stringing alphabet letters together and linking sounds and creating words. Pretty soon you were able to understand a little bit of poetry, magnificent ideas, maybe even studying the gospel, even though it all started with just the alphabet. Well, in math, we have a very similar process that happens, and you've got to get the facts down. The basic addition and multiplication facts down, certainly from the numbers 1 through 10, and even up to the numbers 1 through 15, when you do 8 times 8, and 5 times 6, and 7 times 13, those right there, you start to link them together. But this is not all of math. There's more of it. You start putting those together, and we start introducing variables, and you link ideas together, and you're going to get to a point where you're going to understand algebra and higher maths in as well that are much more than just putting numbers together. That's the main purpose behind memorizing these facts. You really need to memorize them. Now, for some of you, that may be difficult to memorize the facts, and that's all right. That's okay. It is difficult. It was difficult for some people to learn the alphabet and put those sounds together and really learn how to read. But once that happens, this entire world of reading opens up, and then the entire world of algebra and higher math. Not to mention all of the arithmetic that you can do with fractions and stock markets and investing and money and everything like that. There are all these things that can come based on this. Now, there's a lot of different options here. In order to memorize these, there are online games. You can Google them. They come up. They're educational sites. It's great. You can write them down over and over and just sit there and write them over and over. That gets a little bit boring, but hey, if it works for you, that's great. What I'm going to talk about today are flashcards. Now, flashcards, it's because they're so accessible, and there are even flashcard websites that you can go in and punch in what you want to study, and it'll just keep flipping them through like that. Well, I kind of like the flashcards because they're easy to make on your own. You can carry them with you wherever you want. You can have digital ones. It's great. But I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks on these flashcards first, before we get into the flashcards. First of all, there are a few tricks when memorizing flashcards. The first ones are that you can memorize the tens really easily and nicely. I like these ones because you just add a zero, like 7 times 10. Oh, look at that. That's 7D. 12 times 10. Just add a zero, 120. That's really nice, and that'll help you get a few of those quickly. With the 11s, it's kind of nice. You just double them. It's like timesing by 1 twice. So like 7 times 11, that's 7 times 1, and 7 times 1, that's 77. 9 times 11, that's 99. And this actually keeps working even when you do something like 13 times 11. You actually get 1313. Now watch how I write it. 130, 13. That's 143. That's a pretty cool trick with the 11s. 15 times 11, that would be 150, 15. Let me write that down. 150, 15. That's 165. And yes, that's exactly right. The last trick I'm going to show you that may help you learn some of these kind of quickly is the trick that you can break up numbers. So if I started doing the double digits, like say 7 times 13, We know that this is 13. That's a 10 and a 3. So you really can do this. You can take 7 times 10 is 70, and 7 times 3 is 21, and those two add together to give you 91. Let's try another one. Let's do like 8 times 14. 8 times 10 is 80. 8 times 4 is 32. 80 and 32 is 112. 4 times, say, I don't know, 15. 4 times 10 is 40. 4 times 5 is 20. 40 and 20 equals 60. So 4 times 15 is 60. As you start to practice these little tricks, you'll find that they get easier and easier with practice. Okay, now let's go back and do flashcards. So we're going to do a few flashcards here, and we're going to run through it. Now, first of all, when you're doing flashcards, one major mistake that many will do is they start doing the flashcards and they'll test themselves out. We'll write some of these down, like 3 times 7. That's going to be our first one. And then they'll run through the second one, they'll do 4 times 6. And so they do 3 times 7, and they're like, shoot, what is that? 3 times 7 is 21. And you're like, oh, 21, right. Then they move on to the next one. 4 times 6 is what? 24. Oh, good. And then they'll run on to the next one. 5 times 9. And what does that become? 45. And by the time they get down here and do a few more, 8 times 6, and then 6 times 7, 8 times 6 is 48, 6 times 7 is 42, and they go through an entire big list of them. They have completely forgotten what 3 times 7 was. So here's how we're going to do it. We're going to stick right with 3 times 7 for a minute. So 3 times 7, you look at the answer and you're like, oh, that's right, shoot, 21. Good, we got it. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 7 is 21. Now bounce back and forth between 3 times 7 is 21, because it's now in your head, just to this guy. 3 times 7 is 21, 4 times 6. Shoot, I don't know that yet. Look at the answer and you're like, 24. Okay, 4 times 6 is 24. 3 times 7 is 21. 4 times 6, 24. 3 times 7, 21. 4 times 6, 24. Mix it up a little bit. 4 times 6 is 24. 3 times 7 is 21. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I got those. Piece of cake, piece of cake. Now you add this third guy down here to it. 5 times 9. What is that? I don't know. 45. 45. 45. Good. 5 times 9 is 45. 4 times 6, 24. Ooh, was your brain stretched just a little bit on that one? 4 times 6 is 24. Now go back to this one. 5 times 9 is 45. Now jump up to that one. 3 times 7 is 21. 4 times 6 is 24. 5 times 9. Shoot. We already forgot it. 45. And you start noticing that when you start only with 3 of them, going back and forth, and then down, and then back, and then down, and then back, and then back, and then back, and then down, and then back, and then up, and then back, between these 3, your brain will start to create neural pathways. And then you add the next one to the mix. Once you get these 3 down, that you can do them in any order, now your brain has to focus on something else. 8 times 6. What is 8 times 6? Oh, it's 48. 48. Good. Now you come up here and you're like, hey, shoot, 5 times 9. Oh, it's 45. 8 times 6 is 48. 5 times 9 is 45. 8 times 6 is 48. Then jump up to this one. 3 times 7. You may find your brain stretching. This is exactly what you need to do to convince your brain that it can't forget these numbers and these facts. So 3 times 7, 21. 8 times 6 is 48. 4 times 6 is 24. 8 times 6 is 48. 4 times 6 is 24. 8 times 6 is 48. 5 times 9 is 45. 8 times 6 is 48. 3 times 7, 21. 8 times 6 is 48. 4 times 6 is 24. 5 times 9 is 45. 4 times 6 is 24. 3 times 7 is 21. And you bounce back and forth this way, now with 4 of them, until those 4 are down. Then you finish off with 6 times 7. Well, that's a 42. Let's put him in the mix. 42. 8 times 6 is 48. Bounce back to 42. 45. 42. 4 times 6 is 24. 42. 3 times 7 is 21. 6 times 7 is 42. 4 times 6 is 24. 6 times 7 is 42. And you'll find your brain stretching. And 5 of them is a really good number to bounce back and forth until you have them in any and every order. It could take you a few minutes. It could take you 20 minutes. It could take you a couple of days to get these 5 down. Then don't add a 6th one to this lot. Start over with a new 5. So 5 at a time. Then jump to those other 5. And you start off with 1, build up to 2, build up to 3, build up to 4, build up to 5 until you have them. Then come back to these 5. And you may have forgotten a couple and it may take some review. Then put them together and you have 10 of them. And you got it. You keep building them up and building them up until you have memorized them. Good luck with that.